I find the concept of non-duality very difficult for the common man to understand. What is the most concise and simple definition or explanation of non-duality that you have found to exist, which is easy enough for even a child to understand? Surely, if truth is too complex to grasp, it can never be universal.
It is extremely simple. As Bhagavan says in verse 26 of Ullanabdu, if ego comes into existence, everything comes into existence. If ego doesn't exist, everything doesn't exist. This is our experience. Every day in waking and dream, ego has come into existence, so all these phenomena have come into existence along with it. In sleep, we don't rise as ego, and therefore nothing appears. So sleep is a state of non-duality. But as soon as ego rises, there's an appearance of duality. But even when duality seems to exist, non-duality is the eternal truth. Because though ego and all these multiplicity seems to exist, what actually exists is only the one non-dual Sat-Chit.
It's a very interesting question because it's a challenge that a child must be able to understand, and I've always felt that these and you know, which is not so simple. It's something one comes across when teaching as well, that things should be so crystal clear and so simple to penetrate. Anyway, we can discuss it another time. Of course, you're right. It's just that a child...
Sometimes children may be able to understand these things better than we can.
Yeah.
Because their minds aren't so scribbled. So sometimes a child may grasp this. Yes, of course. When I disappear in sleep, everything disappears.
I think this thing of sleep and dream would work very well. I think that words like ego, of course, you know, wouldn't know what it means, but yes, but it's an interesting challenge, though, to phrase it in a way that a child intuitively would see immediately, because they do. I remember with my son. You know. Anyway, let's get on.
But also, children, these Bhagavan's teachings will not be understood by the majority of adults, because the majority of adults have outward going minds, and it'll seem something so abstract to say that this world isn't real. Most people, they cannot conceive the possibility that this world could be just a dream. Of course, if you think about it, we've got no evidence that this is anything but a dream, but people are so firmly convinced of the reality of the world and the reality of this awareness, I am this body, they take these things to be given. So they don't even want to question these things. Whereas you may get a child who is spiritually mature, though very young, is spiritually mature, who at once gets it. So it's not to do with the age of the body or the age of, I mean, it's to do with the pakva, the maturity, the spiritual maturity. By Bhagavan's grace, we are attracted to his teachings, and we are given to understand, at least to some extent, these teachings. That is by his grace. The majority of people wouldn't even want to understand these things. The majority of people would be absolutely horrified if we were to tell them what Bhagavan's teachings is. They would react very vehemently against it. That's why we are not to take Bhagavan's teachings to the world. Bhagavan never gave any teaching to anyone of his own accord. Only when people asked him did he give teaching. Because if you start trying to give to people who are not ready for it, it's going to be of no use whatsoever. They won't even want to understand.